So let's take a look at subordinating conjunctions. So subordinating conjunctions, they are mentioned in your textbook in chapter 8a1, so Lektion 8a1. And you remember, guys, I asked you to take a look at page 422. This will be chapter 10a1, so I will come later to this. So let's analyze what are the subordinating conjunctions and why do we call them subordinating. But before we start with subordinating conjunctions, let's take a look at coordinating conjunctions first. So let's create two simple sentences. The first sentence, Peter geht in den Park. So Peter goes to the park. So this is our Peter. He walks. He would like to go to the park to enjoy time, to enjoy the good weather. And because I mentioned the good weather, let's us create the second sentence. Das Wetter ist schön. So the weather is nice. The weather is good. And look, I found a very nice picture. Now I realize it's probably fall time and we have springtime. But anyway, so you have an idea the weather is very nice. Good. So let's look at both of these sentences from linguistical point of view. Peter geht in den Park und das Wetter ist schön. So let us try to analyze first the sentences and let's take a look at subject and verb agreements in these sentences. In each sentence, we have one element which we call subject, so performer of an action, and there is another element which we call the verb. Verb is represent the action of a sentence. In the first sentence, Peter geht in den Park, our subject is Peter, so obviously he is the person who goes to the park. So what is the action of the sentence? The action is to walk, to go, so geht. So, and we have this subject plus verb agreement in this sentence. We know agreement is when our verb agrees with the subject. Peter is only one person, so that's why the verb gehen is used in the form geht. So ending T at the end. In the second sentence, we talk about the weather. So Wetter is our subject. Das is just a definite article which we use with a noun. Article is not a word. Article, they don't have meanings. It's just there's some kind of indicators for gender and number nouns. So the subject is Wetter, and the verb is the verb to be in the third person singular form ist. Das Wetter, so ist. So those are our subjects and verbs. Good. So according to the rule of German language, our verb, so if we have a classical statement sentence, verb must be in the second grammatical position. So if you see the first sentence, Peter geht in den Park, the verb geht, which is highlighted yellow, is in the second grammatical position. The first grammatical position is taken by a subject. So in the second sentence, das Wetter ist schön, the verb ist as well in the second grammatical position. First grammatical position is taken by subject Wetter, and das as a definite article has no positions because it's not a word. Good. Let's try to connect the second sentence to the first sentence. Let's create a long sentence which consists of two different elements. Still are equal, the elements are equal, they represent two different ideas. The first idea, Peter goes to the park. The second idea, the weather is nice. So the sentence will say, Peter geht in den Park und das Wetter ist schön. So as you see, we use these conjunctions, this joining component element of word, which allows us to connect two ideas together. So this und in the middle, so I highlighted it red, we call it a coordinating conjunction. Why do we call it a coordinating conjunction? Because look, what we have now, we have the same situation we had before with two equivalent by separated sentences. In the first sentence, we have verb in the second grammatical position, and in the second part of this long sentence, so we still have verb in the second grammatical position. So our conjunction und will not change positions of verbs. So it's just as used for coordinating of two equal ideas, of two equal thought. So that's why we call it a coordinating conjunction. So let's take it, keep it in mind. Such conjunctions as und will never change position of a verb in a sentence. So there are 5 such called coordinating conjunctions in German language. So they are und, aber, oder, denn, and sondern. So and, but, or, because, and rather. So you may refer to them, you may find them in your textbook in chapter 6a3 and analyze them, review them again. Good. So we agree that there are 5 coordinating conjunctions which are used to connect ideas together. The ideas will still be equal. They are interchangeable, so we can replace positions of ideas, and verb will in those sentences will always be in the second grammatical position. Good. Let's go back to our first sentences we created. Peter geht in den Park und das Wetter ist schön. Now, I will change my idea to connect two sentences together. What I would like to do now, I would like to explain why Peter is going to the park. So I would like to say that Peter goes to the park because the weather is nice. So I will give my explanation. I will create some kind of dependency. So one sentence from another sentence. So Peter geht in the park. Peter geht in den Park. This will be my main clause, my main sentence, my main idea. And the second part, das Wetter ist schön, will be just an explanation. So that will be some kind of a dependent idea or dependent clause. So how can I do it? First, what I will do, look, I will erase my period at the end of the first sentence. I will put comma. Then I will use the word weil. Weil in English means because. So Peter geht in den Park because. So Peter goes to the park because. Now I will just add the second sentence to my first sentence. Now this is my explanation. And what happened next? Take a look at the verb in the second part. The verb will suddenly jump to the very end of the sentence. So this is a grammatical rule which says that as long as our sentence is a dependent clause, the verb in such a dependent clause must be used at the very end of the clause, of the very end of the sentence. Now our sentence now says, Peter geht in den Park, weil das Wetter schön ist. So once again, we understand that this subordinating conjunction weil pushes, so sends our verb to the very end of the sentence. So, and that's why we call this conjunction a subordinating conjunction. Now, because the second part, so the second clause is subordinated to the first, to the main clause. Okay, so once again, as long as we use while in a sentence, while will push the verb of the sentence to the very end. So we keep in mind, so if you go to page 422 in your textbook, you will find the list of these subordinating conjunctions. So let's analyze them very briefly. So while you know already means because. Next is als. Als means as or when. Next we have before. Before means before. It's cognate. It's almost the same meaning. Yeah. Nachdem. You remember we used nachdem in previous presentation. Nachdem means after. Something happened after something in the past. For example. Next is bis. Bis means till, until. Damit. Damit means so that. For example, I learned German so that I can speak German very well. So we use so that. Das means that, and it is used to represent the indirect speech. For example, my friend told me that he is tomorrow, he can do something tomorrow, something like that. Ob. Ob is whether or if, conditional if. So I'm not sure whether the weather tomorrow will be good or bad. Obwohl. Obwohl means although. For example, yeah, I go to a restaurant, although I'm not so very hungry. Then we have während, while, whereas, while. So for example, I'm sitting home while my friend is outside, goes out. And the last is when. So when is conditional if. So when, whenever. For example, when the weather is nice, I go for a walk. So those are such called subordinating conjunctions. And all of them, and each and every of them, will push the verb of a sentence to the very end. Please keep it in mind. As long as you use one of them, think your verb needs to go to the very end of the sentence. So let's analyze a couple of sentences. How do you remember, for example, these sentences we used them, I used them in previous presentation. The first sentence says, Der Zug ist abgefahren. So the train has already left. And another sentence says, Ich kam am Bahnsteig an. So I arrived at the platform. So in both sentences, we have subject and verb agreement. So in the first sentence, the subject is Zug, the train. In the second sentence, subject is me, I, ich. We have two verbs. We have subject plus verb agreement. So in the first sentence, the verb is ist. In the second sentence, the verb is kam. Okay? Now, how can we connect these two sentences if we think about this timeline? You remember I mentioned this in my previous presentation. So this is present, and everything which is from the right side is our future. So we move from past to the future, and everything from my left side is the past. So we never will be able to come to this time before, so we passed already this time. So if we think about the situation when we say, when I arrived at the platform, the train had already left. So you remember how we do it in German. We create this sentence saying, Der Zug war schon abgefahren, als ich am Bahnsteig ankam. So now we take closer look at this als. So als in this case means when. When, as a subordinating conjunction, pushes the verb to the end. Ankam. Ankam is now at the end of the whole sentence. Okay, so please analyze it in your textbook. You will see many different examples. Just read them and always ask yourself, okay, where is my subordinating conjunction in this sentence, and where is the verb, and where is the subject? Okay, just take pencil and just underline those elements. It definitely will help you to understand the idea of those subordinating conjunctions. Now I would like to show you something else, something we do not have in English language. So let's once again, so see this sentence, when I arrived at the platform, the train had already left. So you may ask me, is it possible in German language to replace positions of these two sentences? Practically, yeah, you would like to use the same like we say it in English, when I arrived. And my answer will be yes, it's absolutely no problem. So look, how can I do it? I just copy paste the second part of my compound sentence, and I start my sentence now saying, als ich am Bahnsteig ankam. So when I arrive at the platform. Next, what I have to do, I practically have to write the second part, which was the first part in previous sentence on the top. So, but here we have another problem we have to keep eye on. We have to keep in mind. So you remember the golden rule of the German language, which says that the verb in a statement and sentence must be always in the second grammatical position. Now we consider our dependent clause with a subordinating conjunction, we consider now as position number one in the main clause. Now, when the whole dependent clause is represent the position number one, the question is what element we have to use in position number two. And we definitely, obviously, we will give the answer, so that must be the verb, because this is the golden rule of German language. So now take a look at the first part in the sentence. Der Zug war schon abgefahren. And where is our verb, which is conjugated with the subject? This is war. So now we write sentence in this way. Als ich am Bahnsteig ankam. war der Zug schon abgefahren. Now you see, Zug, subject is used now after the verb, and we call it such called a reverse word order. So first what we use is verb, then the subject. They're still in agreement, they're still connected. So this is a very interesting element. Let's analyze a couple of examples. Here another element. Sarah hatte schon bestellt, als Jan ins Restaurant kam. So Sarah made already an order when Jan arrived at the restaurant. So again, we use als, if, and als pushes the verb to the end. Kam is now at the end of the sentence. And in the first part, we have Sarah as a subject and hatte as the verb which is connected to the subject. So we will rewrite the sentence starting with dependent clause. Als Jan ins Restaurant kam, hatte Sarah schon bestellt. And as you see now, the second part, so the main clause, we have this such called reverse word order. Another much simple sentence. Ich lese ein Buch, wenn ich Zeit habe. So I read a book when I have time. So look, wenn ich Zeit habe, when sends our verb to the end of the sentence. Habe is now at the end, still conjugated with subject ich. So that's why we have ending a, but according to the rule of a dependent clause, verb must be used at the end of the sentence, at the end of the clause. And now, in the first sentence, we have subject ich and the verb lese. Look, I rewrote the sentence and now I have wenn ich Zeit habe, lese ich ein Buch. So as you see in the second part, we still have this reverse word order and subject still agrees with the verb.